Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Welcome to the lecture case study on classification. In this lecture, we are going to be looking at a case study on classifying personal income, and we will be looking at how to solve this case study systematically using a data science framework using R programming. So now let's look at the problem statement of the case study. So Subsidy Inc. delivers subsidies to individuals based on their income. Subsidy is nothing but it's a benefit given to an individual, business or institution. So it's usually in the form of a cash payment or tax reduction if it's being provided by government organization. So subsidy is typically given to remove some type of burden, and it is often considered to be in the overall interest of the public, given basically to promote a social good or an economic policy. There are different kinds of subsidies, direct and indirect subsidies. Direct subsidies are those that involve an actual payment of the funds towards a particular individual, group or industry. Indirect subsidies are those that do not hold a predetermined monetary value or involve actual cash outlays. So they include activities such as price reductions for required goods or services that can be government supported. But in our case, Subsidy Inc. is the organization which delivers the subsidies to individuals based on their income. So as you know that collecting the information about individuals' income is one of the hardest piece of data to acquire. So that's why it's mentioned as accurate income data is one of the hardest piece of data to obtain across the world. Now, Subsidy Inc. has obtained a large set of data on individual income, demographic parameters as well as based on a few financial parameters. And based on the parameters that they've collected, they wishes us to develop an income classify system for individual, which is to basically classify the individual salary level, whether a person is likely to earn above a certain limit or below that particular limit. Right. So the main objective of this case study is to simplify the data system by reducing the number of variables to be studied without sacrificing too much of accuracy. As you know that data collection process plays a major role in data science, because there's a cost associated with each data collection process. Once we develop an income classifier system for individuals for future use, we should be able to classify the individual salary status based on the demographic, income and financial parameters with reduced set of features, because it is very important to identify the significant features from the data that we have for future use, which can help us to classify the individual salary status. Then such a system would help Subsidy Inc. in planning subsidy outlay, monitoring and preventing misuse. For example, if we are given with 10 variables and we built an income classifier model for classifying the individual salary status, we would be using all those 10 variables. But for a future use, if we can come up with some 5 to 6 variables which are highly significant enough to classify the individual salary status, then we can go ahead and collect those information about an individual and still be able to classify whether an individual is earning above this particular limit or not, to basically plan their subsidy outlay or to monitor the subsidies, and we can also prevent the misuse of it. So now let's see what are the variables that the data has, and let's understand about each of the variables in detail. So we have a data set called income.csv. So all the data has been collected and all the information have been provided in a CSV file called income.csv. They have basically collected 31,978 individuals details based on 13 parameters. So if you were to imagine it like a matrix, you will have 31,978 rows with 13 columns. So in the first column basically tells you the variables in the data. The next thing is the nature of the data type of a variable. The next describes the variables. The next column describes what kind of levels that you can expect from that categorical variable. So the first variable is the age variable, which is of integer data type, which tells us the age of the individual in years, and it's an integer data type. The next is a job type, which is a categorical variable. That's why the data type is being mentioned as string, which describes the working status of person, like which sector does he work in, whether he's working in federal government, local government, private, and it also has 5 more categories to it. The next variable is ED type, which is also a categorical variable, tells about the level of education of an individual, whether an individual has completed 10th standard, master's, doctorate, and also it has 13 more educational levels to it. The next variable is the marital status of the individual, like divorced, never married. So married, AF in the sense armed force, spouse, and it also has 4 more categories to it. Next variable is the occupation variable, which is also a categorical variable because it has strings to it, which tells about the type of work the individual does, whether an individual is working in armed forces, sales, or tech support, and also it has 11 more categories to it. The next variable is the relationship. It's a categorical variable which tells about the relationship of an individual to his or her household. It has values like husband, wife, own child, and 3 more. So next is the race of the individual. It has black, white, and 3 more categories to it. Next is the gender, which is nothing but individual's gender. It has 2 categories to it, male and female. So the capital gain and capital loss, these 2 variables basically tells about the financial status of the individual. So it basically takes in integer values. So the capital gain is the profit one earns on the sale of an asset like stocks, bonds, or real estate. So it results in capital gain when the selling price of an asset exceeds its purchase price. So it's basically the difference between the selling price and the cost price. So where the selling price is higher and the cost price is lower of the asset. So this is what we mean by capital gain. The capital loss is the converse of the capital gain, where it arises when the cost of price is higher than the selling price. An individual can either have capital gain or capital loss based on the selling of an asset such as stock or bond for more than the original purchase price. Next variable is the hours per week, which describes about the number of hours that individual works per week. So it basically takes in integer values. Next variable is the native country, basically the native country of the individual. It has categories like United States, Cambodia, Canada, and 39 more countries to it. Next variable is the SALSTART variable, which is also a categorical variable. This is the outcome variable indicating the salary status of an individual. So it can take 2 categories, 2 levels to it. The first level is less than or equal to 50,000, telling whether that particular individual is making less than or equal to 50,000 US dollars per annum or greater than 50,000 US dollar per annum. So this is the outcome variable. So based on these income parameters, demographic parameters, and financial parameters, we are going to build a classifier model to basically predict the income level of the individual, either as less than or equal to 50,000 or greater than 50,000 US dollar per annum. By using that classifier model, the Subsidy Inc. can plan their subsidies, monitor, and also prevent the misuse of it. Let's have a quick look at the sample data. So this is from the screenshot of income.csv file. This is how the data looks like. So you can see all the variables that we have seen in the variable description part. So you have age, it has numbers, job type has some strings to it like private, federal government. Next is the educational type, and similarly you can see other variables. And hours per week, it has the number of hours an individual work per week. Next is native country and salary status. So now let us arrive at the framework for solving this data science problem. So the first step in order to solve this problem is to conceptualize the problem. Basically what we are going to do with the data that we have. we are going to develop an income classifier for individuals with reduced number of variables. This we've arrived from the problem statement that we had discussed earlier. And we have a data set with 39,978 records of individuals based on 13 parameters. Out of 13 parameters, 4 are numerical and 9 are categorical variables, including the salary status outcome variable. Next, we need to characterize the problem, whether it is a classification problem or a function approximation problem. So how do we characterize the problem? What we know already from the data is the dependent variable is a categorical variable which has binary levels, and it also has independent variables with both numerical and categorical variables to it. Since the dependent variable is a categorical variable and also with binary class, we are going to characterize the problem as a classification problem, and we are going to use a classification technique. From the data that we have, we can also tell that we are going to solve this problem using a supervised learning algorithm. Since the rows are already labeled with salary status indicating whether an individual is making less than $50,000 per annum or greater than $50,000 per annum. So by building a model, we are going to supervise the training model. So in that case, we can call it as supervised learning problem. And the end objective is to basically build a classifier model to find the income bracket based on the classification technique that we are going to pick up. This is a flow chart to give you an idea how we are going to approach the problem. What are the different steps that we are going to see, right? First, we have the data with us. Next, we've identified what kind of problem that we are going to solve. That is a classification problem using supervised learning algorithms. So by picking up few classification algorithms based on the data that we have and based on the problem that we've seen, we're going to build a model on trained data. Here I have specified model developed on trained data because when you take any data science problem, it is always suggested to not to use the entire data set for building your model. It is always necessary to reserve some part of data as test data to basically see how good your model is performing on an unseen data. In that case, we can reserve 70% of the data as trained data to basically build the model, the classifier model, to classify the individual salary status into any one of the categories, and we can see how good the model is performing on an unseen data, which is test. That is 30% of the data. We will be seeing in detail about how to split the data as train and test, and how we can develop a model on train and how we can predict the model on test data in the hands-on section. So once we build the model, like I said, we can validate the model on the test data. Once we've tested the model and seen the performance, we have a model to basically classify the individual salary status for any new record which doesn't have the salary status to it, right? So once we have that, our next objective is to basically reduce the set of features to be studied for a future use, right? So in that case, we can look at variable importance algorithm to basically arrive at significant features in order to classify the individual salary status. Based on the importance given to each variable in classifying the individual salary status, we can come up with a reduced set of features for future use. So once we arrive at that, we're going to build a model with reduced variables. Now let's conceptualize the solution. Now we got an idea about the data that we have and what kind of problem that we are looking to solve. So now it's time to conceptualize the solution. What are the steps that we are going to follow in order to arrive at the solution, right? So first thing is to identify if the data is clean or not. Clean in the sense, so now we have the data with us. We need to verify whether all the variables have been stored with desired data type or not. For example, whether age is of numerical data type or not. The other thing is we need to check whether there are any irrelevant levels in the variables or not. We can look at some logical checks and see if all the variables are matching with the relevant levels to it. And next is to look for missing values, because when you're dealing with real-time data, you are high likely to get data with missing values. The data that you got might not be completely filled. It can have missing values to it. So you need to identify the missing values in your data and see how to treat the missing values based on the pattern in which the missing values are there. So next is to identify the variables influencing the salary status and look for possible relationships between the variables, right? Because when you're building a model, it is very necessary that dependent and the independent variables should have some relationship to it. For example, in our case, the salary status of an individual depends on the level of education, occupation, and in which sector does he work in, and what is the capital gain of the person, and the age of the person. These are basically influencing factors for the salary status, right? We need to identify whether independent features are also correlated with each other, because if you have two variables giving you the same information contributing in classifying the person's salary status, then instead of having those two variables, you can build a model with only one of those variables which is highly influencing the salary status. So we need to identify those possible relationship between the independent variables using measures called correlation, chi-square test, box plots, scatter plots, etc. We will be looking at few of these measures in order to basically look for the possible relationship between our independent variables as well. Once we do the preliminary analysis and got the basic understanding of the data, then we can build a model with reduced number of variables to classify the individual salary status, to plan the subsidy outlay, monitor and prevent the misuse. Next is to identify the methods. Now that we know we are dealing with a binary classification problem, we need to identify the algorithms that we are going to use to solve this case study. I have identified classification algorithms, logistic regression, and how did I arrive at these? The basic assumption is that we have an output variable which is a categorical variable with two levels. Each of these algorithms has its own assumptions about the data that it can process. So we can try these algorithms with our data and see whether it's giving us the expected results or not. We can choose one which is giving us best performance. So next is the realization of solution. So once you've built a model, we need to evaluate the model based on the performance metrics for classification problem. So there are different performance metrics that we can use to evaluate the classifying model we've built. If the assumptions are satisfied and the solutions are acceptable, then the model is good. But if you're not getting good solution, then the model is not good. You can go back and re-look at the methodology that you've adopted to solve this case study, and you have to go back and look at the algorithms that you've chosen and go back and re-look at the assumptions that you've made about the data. Once you evaluate your model and validate whether it's performing good or not, you can arrive at a solution that can solve the purpose of this problem. And now I've come back to Jupyter Notebook to solve this problem using R programming based on the steps that we've discussed. So in the first line, I'm reading the data using the function called read.csv. Inside the function, I've just given the file name as income.csv and saved it to a data frame called data. Once I execute that, my data has been read into Jupyter Notebook. Now I'm interested in getting the first few rows of the data frame. You will be able to now see the first few rows of the data frame. All the data has been read properly, and you can see the first variable is age, job type, educational type, marital status till you have salary status. So once we read the data, the first thing that we need to check is whether your data has been read properly with all expected data type or not. str function is used to check the data type of variables in your data. So it is basically telling us that it's a data frame with 31,978 observation of 13 variables, and the age is of integer data type, yes, and the job type is factor and it has 9 levels to it, and next is the educational type is also factor, till race it is of factor data type, and capital gain, capital loss and hours per week are numerical variables, so it has been read with integer data type, and as expected native country and SALSTAT have been read as factor data type, which is nothing but the factor basically represents its a categorical data type, and integer means it's basically the variable has numerical values to it. All the variables have been read with expected data type, so we don't need to go back and convert it to the desired data type. So now we can look at the summary statistics of the data frame, which basically gives us the concise summary of the spread of the data. In order to get the summary statistic, we can use the summary function. Summary is basically a generic function used to produce result summaries of the results of various model fitting functions. But in our case, the function invokes particular methods which depend on the class of the first argument. In our case, the argument is the data frame. When you have numerical variables in your data frame, it basically gives you 5-number summary along with the mean measure. For the first variable, that is age, we can look at the 5-number summary along with mean. The minimum age of an individual is 17. The 25% of the individual's age is less than 28 years. 50% of the individual's age is less than 37 years. Average age of an individual is 38 years. 75% of the individual's age is less than 48 years, and the maximum age of the individual in our record is 90 years. But for a categorical variable, the summary function basically gives you the frequencies of each levels present in a categorical variable. For example, under job type, we have several levels. The first level is the private, which basically tells us that 22,286 individuals job type is private, 2,499 individuals are self-employed, 2,067 individuals are working in local government. There's also a question mark which basically doesn't give you much information about the job type of an individual. Instead of missing data, it could have been encoded as question marks. So this has to be treated. We can keep a note on it and we can treat them in further analysis. The 1,279 individuals are working in state governments and 1,074 individuals are self-employed. And similarly, you will be able to understand the levels of other variables in your data frame. And for any numerical variable, you will be able to look at the spread of the data. For example, the minimum capital gain of an individual is 0 and the maximum capital gain that an individual has is 99,999. The average capital gain is around 10,064. It's a cubed variable that holds good for the capital loss variable also. The maximum capital loss of the individual is only 4,356, whereas the mean capital loss is 86 alone. Similarly, you will be able to look at the distribution of the other variables as well. So now the summary statistics gives us the spread of the data and what are the levels and how many records can go into that level. So we got all those information from summary function. So now from the previous summary output, we got to know that there is a special level question mark. We saw that in job type variable, which basically gives us an idea that could be a representation of missing values, right? So now we wanted to understand whether that's only available in job type variable or it's also available in other variables, right? We need to understand how the missing values are present in our data. Either if it's blank cells, then while reading itself it would have been read as NA, not available values in R. So you will have a separate level called NA and you will be able to see how many records are missing under any variable. The missing values can also be present in any form. It can be with special characters or it can be with 0. So it can be anything. So I am just looking for this question mark in the whole data frame and I wanted to see which of the variables have these question marks that are representing the missing values. So I'm using the which function along with the apply function. Inside the functions I've used data and I am also looking for a string which has a space before question mark, because this is how all the levels of a variables are being represented. So similarly the question mark also has it. So I'm looking for space question mark in the whole data frame. So basically using this function you will be able to identify which variables has these question mark as one of their levels. So it turns out that the second column job type has question mark. Similarly the fifth column occupation also has question mark to it. Now we found out that there are two variables which have missing values in the form of question marks. Now we need to identify where the missing values are present and how to treat them. So now let's check the levels of job type and occupation. So I'm using the levels function and also I'm accessing the job type from the data variable and printing the output. So you will be able to see the first output is for the job type variable. So it has basically question mark, federal government, local government, and others are relevant job levels. Similarly, for occupation also you have also it has question mark to it. So it's very evident that job type and occupation obviously have question mark as one of their levels to it. So what we can do now is we can either read the data again by considering the question mark a character vector of strings as NA values. While reading the function using read.csv, using the parameter na.strings, you will be able to give a character vector of strings which can be interpreted as NA values. Since we have found only one special character, I have just used the string, that is space with question mark, to be interpreted as NA values, right? If you have several other levels need to be treated as missing values, you can also combine them with comma and then read the data again. You can use this method when you know a priori that your data will have these kind of missing values, or you got to know about it during the initial stages of the pre-processing step. But if you have gone further and if you still wanted to treat them as missing values, not by reading back again but using some other function, then you can use this code. For example, I am basically encoding the question mark as NA manually, but before changing any levels of a variable, it is always necessary to change the data type of a variable to character and then assign a new value to it. Otherwise you won't be able to do it. So that's why I have basically converted job type and occupation as character variables, and I've also assigned that to the same variable itself, and then I am subsetting all the rows of job type where the job type is equal to space question mark, and I am assigning a value called NA. Similarly, I am doing it for occupation as well. By doing this, you are basically converting the question mark as default NA. So you will be able to work with these missing values with the predefined functions that's available in R. We can consider different kinds of missing values into a single representation, that is NA, and then see how to treat them by using the predefined functions in R. We've again read the data by considering the question mark as NaN values. Let's just cross verify whether we've gotten rid of those question marks in job type and occupation by executing it. Yes, earlier we had question mark as one of the levels of job type and occupation. Now we got rid of the question marks. So now let's go to actual data cleaning part. When we read the data, the first variable, instead of age, it has been read as age. So now it's time to clean that as well. So basically we've got a Unicode UTF-8 BOM at the start of the file. Let's change the column name from age to age. So I'm just accessing the first variable from the data, and using column names of data, you'll be able to access all the column names of data, and by giving 1 as the index number, I am basically accessing the first column and then reassigning a string called age. So once you execute this, you will be able to change from age to age. We've just got an Unicode while we read the data, we are just changing it. There are several ways to get rid of any variable which are being read with . So this is one of it, you can also use this. So now we got the data, and we know that there were some missing values in the form of question mark. We've gone back and read the data properly by considering all the question marks as NA.